Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I am not known for vlogging consistently or reading consistently, but when it gets a little colder, I usually get the urge to do reading vlogs and to read more. So since we're getting into October soon and the weather actually turned and now it's colder, I thought, let's do this. I'm in the mood for a cozy reading vlog. I cannot even complain about the weather. I don't like cold. My favorite season is summer. But September was so decent. It was actually summer weather and I've done so much outside. I am now a huge biker. I go biking all the time in the woods behind my house. And I'm also quite active, surprisingly. Not my speed. And I'm still going to continue to bike. I hope. I bought this tracksuit for this. I also bought some lighting, so even if the weather is going to get colder and it gets darker quicker, I will still try to do it. I do bike on weekends consistently, but I also want to finally get back into reading. It's been abysmal this year. I've had a lot of things on my plate and I'm so behind on my Goodreads challenge. I'm currently in the mood for some cozy mysteries and I also would like to check out some cute, funny maybe romances. I'm currently reading the second book in the 𝕊𝕆ℏ𝕀𝔸 Mysteries series, which was such a revelation. I've read Pressure Head a few months ago and it was such a quick, such an enjoyable read. It reminds me of those Hallmark cozy mystery series. Think Aurora Tiergarten and similar media, but without the weird prudish feel to them. It is a little prudish. It's Hallmark. I think it's Hallmark. The 𝕊𝕆ℏ𝕀𝔸 series give me the same thing, but it's a little raunchier, it's a little more adult. So I'm enjoying it. The second book is called Relief Wolf. They're all sort of raunchy puns. And we're following the same characters. If you don't know what the series is about, I'm going to give you a quick rundown. I'm also drinking some coffee with toasted marshmallows, which I toasted over a candle because I love myself. I'm really into s'mores right now. I really want to make like a s'mores dish in my baking oven. It's been on my mind, so I think I'm going to do it. I've added a little cinnamon too, and it's great. The series is about a guy named Tom who lives in UK. He's a plumber and he has the special talent of being able to find things that are hidden, things that were hidden on purpose and that have some big emotions tied to them. It manifests in a hunch that he gets. He's sort of like a life compass. So because of this talent, he occasionally helps his buddy on the force, Dave. In the first book, he's asked to locate a body of a murdered woman in the woods. They suspect that she's dumped there, but they don't know where exactly. He finds the body. The case turns out to be a bit more complicated than they expected, and the mother of the victim hires a private investigator who turns out to be Philip. Tom and Phil actually went to high school together and they weren't on good terms. Phil and his buddies were bullying Tom, which one time resulted in Tom getting into an accident and needing medical attention. He dropped out of school after and they never reconciled or talked about it. So now when they are adults and they actually need to work on this case together, they have to address it. More so, Phil also turns out to be gay and Tom is very curious about him despite their history. So it's one of those cozy mysteries with a side of romance, specifically romance between investigation bodies. I love that kind of thing, so it's really my jam. It's also very funny. I love the Britishness of it, and I think Tom is such a delightful character. I just really enjoy him. It's not that he is the life of the party, he's just the flavor of sarcastic that I enjoy. I also enjoy that the mysteries themselves are not boring. I'm not sleeping through them. And the romance actually has enough tension. They are really not on the same page in the first book, and they are trying to reconcile, but it's difficult because of their history. Plus, there are some secrets about both of them that they do not want to reveal to each other. They have to work together, so it's forced proximity. And enemies to lovers. Enemies is a really big word here. I know that it's sort of a bully romance and it's presented as a bully romance, but I wouldn't say that it's extremely severe. They are both grown adults and they got over it. I love the first book, and I'm actually really enjoying the second book as well. The tension is still in the relationship despite them being in the relationship. You know that I have an issue, at least I've talked about it before, with romances where the sequels are about the same couple, because the tension is sort of bleeding out because this couple is already established and there's nothing much you can tell me that's gonna keep my interest. I know that some people want to see the domestic stuff and it's cute and all that, but I'm reading a book, I'm not living this relationship, you know? So I want to see conflict, I want to read something interesting, something dynamic, but in this case, I actually don't have an issue because they do have issues. So they are trying to figure out if it's serious, if they should meet each other's parents, if the issues with their exes are resolved or not. I'm enjoying it. This installment actually goes deeper into the familiar relationships, and Tom is a little estranged from his family. They talk, but they're not very close due to his weird talents and also because he chosen a career for himself in trades. So they are a little judgmental of him because the other siblings are all doctors and lawyers. In this book, we meet his older sister, Cherry, who invites him to her engagement party and who drinks something during the party, and it turns out that she's been poisoned. There's also this secondary plot that I find fascinating of Tom possibly getting an inheritance from a neighbor from his childhood who was taking care of him sometimes as a child. She's an elderly woman. And there is some kind of a secret behind it because in her will, she stated that she wants Tom to go on a wild goose chase and find the papers that say what exactly he inherited. And the papers are in her old house somewhere with her ex-husband, and there is some kind of a tension. The ex-husband doesn't want Tom to root around his house. So I'm interested what's in the will and if it's going to affect the third book or not. Maybe he will inherit the house. Maybe the house is mysterious and all that. I'm done with my lead mask, and I usually, well, I try to do it every single day. 10 minutes red, 10 minutes blue, and or light blue, depending on how my skin feels. And sometimes I also do 10 minutes yellow, which is the lymph draining one, and my face holds a lot of water usually. Let me put you on the table like this. I think this is fine. I've heard a lot of great things about lead masks, but you have to use them regularly, which is my biggest issue with skincare in general, because I don't seem to be able to pick up routines very easily. It's been a little bit of a struggle, but I'm doing good-ish so far. I at least use my mask 4 times a week. 10 minutes red, 10 minutes blue or light blue, depending on how my skin feels. And I sometimes do the yellow one as well. It's supposed to be lymph draining, and my face holds a lot of water generally. I've noticed that when I use it in the morning, the yellow one, my face is less puffy. And I struggle with acne, but specifically with picking, because I'm a picker and I can't stop doing it. The only routine that I actually picked up. And my skin heals faster. That's the 2 things that I've noticed. The red light actually is supposed to encourage collagen production. And I don't know if that really works. It's hard to notice on faces. I do use the red light on my knees though, because my left knee is hurting since I started biking. And I logically kind of figured out that encouraging collagen production in your joints should be a good thing. So I'm now using the red light for 10 minutes before going to bed on my knee. And actually after, like right after, my knee stops hurting. So it does something. I finished reading Relief Wolf, which is the 2nd book. And I gotta say that the main mystery wasn't as twisty and exciting, but we've got a slew of new characters that I think are going to be interesting additions to the book series. I also really enjoyed the plot twist at the end, the plot twist with the inheritance, which means we're going to delve deeper into the protagonist's roots, his family, the familial relationships in general. I'm foreseeing a lot of drama, and I'm into that kind of drama. It's not one of those high stakes types of series, which I enjoy. So I started reading the 3rd book immediately, and so far I think the tension is poignant, and I'm really into it. I also am seeing some kind of conflict growing between Tom and Phil, and I'm into that. I think I'm going to finish the 3rd book like that, because I just can't stop reading them when I'm picking them up. It's really hard to stop. They have this addictive quality. I just breeze through them. But after I finish the 3rd book, I think I will make a break and read the book for my Feeble book club. We've chosen Lucy Undying by Kiersten White, and Kiersten White is one of my favorite authors. I think she's incredibly underappreciated. If it's gonna be somewhat like The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein, I'm going to love it. It's the Dracula retelling from the point of view of Lucy, and I love Lucy. She's painfully gay, which they were trying to tap into in the Dracula NBC TV show, which was cancelled way too quickly. Kathy McGrath still holds my heart in her beautiful hands though, so if you have not seen that show, I recommend. I'm really excited about this one actually, so we'll see what's gonna happen. Guys, the wildest thing happened. I think the biking era is closed for the year. I was doing my laundry, just casually, just listening to my audiobook and, enjoying myself, drinking tea and all that stuff. And then I decided to look at the window and it started snowing. I still cannot comprehend it. The seasons are so weird this year. We had a pretty long summer, and I wouldn't say that we didn't have fall at all, but it was just 2 weeks, and then it started snowing. So now we're quickly moving into the winter season. I'm not ready. I still cling to my summer clothes. I'm not happy about this development, I gotta say, and I will resist it until I cannot resist it anymore. I had to go and buy some groceries today, but I think that is not going to happen. I finished reading 𝕊𝕆ℙ𝕀𝔸𝕃, though. I think that's the name of the third book of the 𝕊𝕆ℙ𝕀𝔸𝕃 mysteries. And I gotta say that it has the best mystery plot so far compared to all the other books that I've read in the series. It has to do with the characters from the bar that they frequent. And there is a lesbian butch character that I love, that owns the bar and that provides shelter for girlies that have to run from their abusive husbands, their families, etc., etc. And in the last book, we were introduced to this girl named Merrow, who's this slight waif fairy type of girly that started working in the bar. And in 𝕊𝕆ℙ𝕀𝔸𝕃, she is getting stalked by her ex and she's worried about him doing something terrible. So 𝕊𝕆 is hired to figure out what to do about the dude. And the stakes are the highest in this book, I feel like, because there were actual repercussions and not just fake outs as in the previous books. 𝕊𝕆 and Tom were also fighting, and I love the drama, as we know. Plus, Tom was trying to figure out his ancestry, his family ties, and in general it had a lot of familial drama, which I also like. I cannot wait to see what's gonna happen in the next book, because the ending was such a plot twist. I mean, I expected it in a way, but it's one of those twists that are satisfying regardless of if you expect it or not. So, we'll see. I'm reading Undying and I'm 20 or 30% into it. It's phenomenal. It's everything I wanted it to be. I think that Kiersten White is such an underappreciated author on booktube. She just has such a wonderful author voice, and I love Lucy. She's my favorite from 𝕊𝕆ℙ𝕀𝔸𝕃. She's so funny. She's so effortlessly, I would say, funny in this book. And I love the complexity of her character. The book reminds me a lot of the Anne Rice writing. I think despite it being very long, it's a 500 pages book and it has more than 100 chapters, but the chapters are very short because it has elements of mixed media and it's set in different periods of time and has different point of views. It is still very fresh and snappy, and it's a really fast read. I'm really invested in it, and I just think Lucy is going to be one of my favorite characters that I found this year. She's just so good. It reminds me of The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein, which is one of my favorites from Kiersten White. But at the same time, they're two very different characters. I think the reason why I'm reminded of that book is because it's a retelling, and also because of just the unique writing style of Kiersten White in general and her ability to write distinct female characters. I love it. I want to give you some quotes from the book because it's so incredibly funny, but I don't know how to do that considering the fact that I'm filming on my phone. The lighting is probably ass, but we just have to endure because that's how seasons are, and it's getting darker quicker now. That's deeply into the fall season. I've been rummaging through my perfume collection, trying to figure out my perfume tray for November and December, maybe even January if I don't get tired of it. Because it's getting cold and I need to switch out the perfumes that I use. Also, I finished listening to Lucy Undying by Kiersten White. So I have thoughts and I wanted to close this reading vlog. First, let me show you my beautiful perfume tray because indeed I think I finally penciled down what I want to do. Here it is. let me be really careful with it because these bottles are pretty heavy. Not all of them are expensive though, so you know. So here's my tray. Perfume trays is something the perfume community does, and I've been really into perfume in the last 2 years. This tray is something I made myself with my own 2 hands in the pottery class that I frequent. And the perfumes here are mostly sweet. I am a big gourmand lover, and I also love spicy warm perfumes, spicy warm woody perfumes, and those slightly masculine perfumes that are not necessarily sweet but have a warm depth to them. Those kinds of perfumes are the type of perfumes I wear to dates when I want to be a little more musk. Not necessarily butch, but I'd say a little more musk when I feel like I have a dominant energy in me that I want to release into the wild. So here is the collection that I decided to go with. I have some testers or travel sizes as well because I just cannot decide. If you're into perfumes, you can tell that I'm a big fan of Arabian perfumes. Not necessarily because they are cheaper, though it helps, but mostly because they have longevity and they put something in the juice that makes it very unmissable. I want people to smell my perfume. The first thing here is the cheapest one. It's Choco Musk by 𝕊𝕍𝕃. This just sounds like the chocolate factory, and I love this one. It's so cheap too that I occasionally just perfume myself before bed to wake up in a cloud of chocolate. It's really, really cozy. Occasionally I pair it with something spicy, and then I get a whole spicy hot chocolate type of vibe. This one is a bit more expensive. It smells like lemon cakes, like little tartlets with lemon filling and maybe a little whipped cream on top or a meringue. It's sweet, but it has a citrusy note, which doesn't make it masculine. It actually makes it more delicious and decadent in my opinion. I love this one, but since it is a bit on the more expensive side, I usually use it for special occasions. I also have this woody and resinous perfume. It's Ebony Wood from Zara, and it was fairly inexpensive, but it is definitely very unique. It's woody. I wouldn't say it's spicy, but it's definitely warm. It reminds me of licorice, though it doesn't have any licorice notes. I made a few people smell this perfume, and interestingly enough, everyone has different associations. Some say that it's just very oody and it smells like a slab of wood. Some smell something sweet. I definitely smell licorice because it's bitter and sweet to me at the same time. I love this one because it's unusual. When I want to make it a little more sweet, I add a sweeter perfume to mix it up. And then this sweet perfume, this light sweet perfume, has a deeper, warmer tone to it. The next one is 𝕊𝕆ℏ𝕀𝔸. It's very popular because it's supposed to be a dupe for Bianco Latte, which is this very niche, very expensive perfume that smells like condensed milk. This perfume is definitely very sweet. It's very heavy and very intense, especially from the bottle. But when I spray it on my clothes, I really love it because for some reason, and I don't know if this perfume has these notes or not, but it starts smelling to me like something sweet. It's definitely the smell of condensed milk, whipped cream, caramel, but there's also an undertone of refreshing sour red berries that do play well with the overall sweetness. When I first got it and just smelled it, I wasn't sure it's for me because I do love sweet, but this felt almost intoxicating. The last one is very interesting. It's Junnon Noir by 𝕊𝕊𝕆𝕍. It's also an Arabic brand, and I think it's one very unique scent. It is sweet, but it's also fresh and juicy and light at the same time. There's definitely an element of booziness to it, but not liquor or cognac or any of those heavy boozy notes. It's not champagne either. It's beer or ale. It has a very interesting quality to it that I cannot pinpoint. There's a bready quality to it. That's why I compare it to beer and ale and these kinds of alcoholic drinks, but it's subtle, it's not in the face. So these are my full bottles. Since I am a person with issues, perfume obsession issues at the moment, I also have 2 travel sizes that I'm testing. One is Mancera Amore Cafe, which I love. It smells like coffee with milk, specifically coffee with milk, because it's slightly on the sweet side. I expect it to be a bit more on the bitter side, like true coffee smell, Americano, but I'm loving it. I'm really loving it. I'm looking for the perfect coffee perfume. And this one is really good, but I will try more. I also have Zadig and Voltaire's This Is Her, which is an interesting, slightly masculine vanilla scent, in my opinion. I would not buy a full bottle, though I know that this perfume has a lot of fans. I will just use it up and forget about it. I don't think it's particularly memorable. So this is just a pick into my recent obsessions. But we definitely want to talk about Lucy Undying, which is brilliant. I love this book. I gave it 4 stars though, I think because the first 60-80% of it were better than the last 20. In my opinion, in the last 20%, we lost a little bit of the gothicness of it, of the true gothic atmosphere. It's difficult to maintain the gothic atmosphere in the modern works. It just doesn't come naturally. We don't live in those types of houses anymore. We don't wear these types of clothes anymore. So it's complicated. And I think because of the cult element that is present in this book, we have different characters, they have different issues. One of the characters comes from a family that has organized a cult. It's very 𝕊𝕊𝕙𝕃, and she's been shackled to her family for the entirety of her life. She didn't have much experience outside of this system, but she's been rebelling against her family. I think her journey was interesting and I enjoyed it. But when we truly got into the cult stuff and the MLM stuff, it became too modern for me, and there are a few elements in this book that make it a little too modern for gothic. The vampire characters are incredible, they're interesting. I think Lucy is the star of the show, which is not unusual considering it's her book. She definitely is the character to read this book for. She's extremely funny. Often when we read vampire works, the author cannot convey why being a vampire is a bad thing, and for some reason the protagonists never want to be vampires, which is odd. If there are no consequences, then why not? And in this novel, Kiersten White played with an idea that the moment of death is extremely important for every vampire because that's the moment they remember and reflect upon the most. This is such an interesting concept that I have not seen in other vampire work, so it made it different. I also just really love Lucy. She's so freaking funny. Her diary, and there are diary entries from the time where she was not a vampire yet, are hilarious. They are hilarious. All the nonsense that she goes through as an aristocratic girl that her mother wants to sell off to the highest bidder, basically, to marry off. They are so entertaining. Her notes, her sense of humor, the way she talks, incredible. I really loved her. So if you're looking for a good Dracula retelling, this one is pretty great. This is it for the vlog. I don't have it in me to continue. Tell me about the most exciting thing that you've done this fall so far. And tell me about a book that you read recently that you really liked. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you soon with another one. But until then...